Good evening to all the members who have joined us today for this webinar. I welcome all of you on behalf of Madras Tax Bar, and I thank Swaminathan sir for once again taking a session today on capital receipts. So the today's session will be the presentation will be done by Swaminathan sir, and end of the presentation we will have our question answer round where you can either raise your hands or put in your query in the chat box. The chat box option will be enabled, but I request the participants to make sure that you don't unnecessarily put in a lot of messages as it might distract the speaker. So you can either send me message personally, that is like to the host only, or you can put in your query at the end, that is during the question answer session round. So with these announcements, we can start the meeting. Over to you, Swaminathan sir.
Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Sai Ram. We'll just go to the screen sharing.
I've enabled, sir.
Today the topic is capital versus revenue. It's a very complicated chapter, but I just took anyway, we'll just have a discussion on this. If I have done any mistakes or any other thing, please kindly pardon me, and someone can also give some inputs on what are the mistakes I have done in this one. Any transactions, if you do it, either you can be segregated into two parts. One is capital, other is as revenue. In capital, you will have whether that is an expenditure, whether it is a capital expenditure or a capital receipt. In revenue, you will find it the same way, whether it is a revenue expenditure or a revenue receipt. Then the other three columns, you need not to worry about it. You can think of deferred revenue expenditure. I'll just explain you how it is to be done. So each and every transaction you can bifurcate as capital as well as revenue. It depends upon whether it is a receipt or an expenditure. This depends upon the how you do those, the expenditure or the receipts, how you receive it. Generally, what the assessee is thinking will be that all the expenditure, whatever he incurs, should be a revenue expenditure so that it will be allowable by the income tax department. And whatever he receives should always be a capital receipt so that it will not be taxable until otherwise it is specifically taxable. But the department will always wants to find out that all the expenditure, whatever it is incurred by the assessees, should be only a capital expenditures, which cannot be allowable. And whatever the receipts they have received, it should be a revenue receipts. So it should be taxable. So this is the vice versa. This is the problem between the assessee as well as the department. So we will just go through the difference between the first part is only on the expenditure. What is capital expenditure? What is a revenue expenditure? Suppose if I spend certain money, it may be treated as a revenue expenditure in my hands, but the same thing, it need not be a revenue receipt in the hands of the recipient. It can be a capital receipt or a revenue receipt. Or the same way, if I incur a capital expenditure, that need not be a revenue receipt in the hands of that person, or it may be also a capital receipt. This is the broad outlook of the capital expenditure and revenue expenditure, capital receipts, revenue receipts. So what is capital versus on the portion of expenditure? Suppose if a person incurs a lump sum amount, generally we think that any lump sum amount is spent by any person, we feel that it is only a capital expenditure. No. Or even a small portion he spends out, that is only a revenue expenditure. There is no magic in the distinction between a lump sum or a periodic payment to determine whether it is a capital or a revenue. So it depends upon, even a lump sum payment may be a revenue payments, or yes, periodic payment may also be a capital sum also. See, for an example, if you make an expenditure, you pay installment payments for your property purchased, the interest payments or the capital sum payment. These you payment every month, you make the annual payment. It doesn't mean that it is a revenue expenditure. It is always to be treated as only as a capital expenditure. So whether it is a lump sum payment or a periodic payment or whatever it may be, cannot decide the factor whether the expenditure is a capital or a revenue. It depends upon each and every facts of the case. So first we will see what is a revenue expenditure. Expenditure incurred in the ordinary conduct and administration of a business or a profession. If you just do an expenditure in the ordinary course of a business, or all expenses incidental to the working of the business or a profession, or all expenses incurred for maintaining the efficiency of a fixed asset. I'm just putting the word efficiency, maintaining the efficiency of the fixed asset, or an item of expenditure, though wholly and exclusively laid out for the purpose of the business or profession, until otherwise it is a capital expenditure. All the expenditures will be treated as a revenue expenditure. For example, what are the revenue expenditures? We can just see that rent payment, transportation charges, commission payments, advertisements, traveling expenditures, Xerox charges, stationery expenses, salary, wages, legal expenses, insurance, interest payments, selling and distribution, and miscellaneous expenditure. Now, how I just treat that this is all basic examples of revenue expenditure. One need not know about the accounting concept. Whatever the receipts you receive it, then you pay the rent payment, the salaries, or the expenditures of commission, advertisement, traveling expenditures, Xerox charges, reduce all those things. Then the net figure will be the net profit, which you will declare to the income tax department that this is my, after the income less expenditure, this is my net profit, which I am disclosing as income from my business or a profession. This is how we just deal with the revenue expenditures. Now we will come to what is the capital expenditure, which is not a revenue expenditure, which is everyone knows. Capital expenditure consists of expenditure for the benefit which is not fully enjoyed in one accounting period but spread over several accounting years. Or a capital expenditure is the purpose of earning income or increasing the earning capacity of the business. Please kindly understand the word specifically, earning capacity of the business in the operation of an asset, or the finance cost, which is that I have put in within the bracket that if you pay interest on loans to purchase of the fixed assets, those will not be treated up to the time of the asset is put to use, will be treated as capital expenditure, and after that it will be treated as a revenue expenditure. These are the broad, which are the items which we can find out whether the expenditure is a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure. Till now, courts have now not come to anything stated that these are all the revenue expenditures, these are all the capital expenditures. Still it is a debatable issue which has to be decided only with the facts of each and every cases. So examples of capital expenditure, I purchase a machinery, the delivery cost, installation cost, even a replacement cost is also treated as a capital expenditure. There was a plenty of conflict, whether it will come under 31 or 37, there were plenty of conflict which have been settled by Supreme Courts. We will see in the subsequent side. So loan to outsiders. I give a loan to another person. Whether these are all the examples of capital expenditures, money paid for goodwill, and then upgradation cost. These are all examples of capital expenditures. So the distinction between a capital and revenue expenditures can be broadly explained like this. See, if you see in the left-hand side, capital expenditure, incurred in acquiring or improving permanent asset, not meant for resale, may add to value of an existing asset. So suppose if I purchase a machinery or a plant and machinery or anything, these are all capital expenditure, acquiring for improving permanent asset. On the right hand side, if you find out the revenue expenditure, it's a routine expenditure incurred in the normal course of business and includes cost of sales and maintenance of fixed assets. So increasing the earning capacity will be treated as a capital expenditure, but maintaining the earning capacity will be treated as a revenue expenditure. Normally, this capital expenditure is not a recurring, it's a non-recurring, and revenue expenditure is usually a recurring item. And if you see the capital expenditure, it produces benefit over several years. Thus, a small part is charged to income statement as depreciation and the rest appears in the balance sheet. Here, if it is seen in the revenue expenditure, it is consumed within an accounting year. Benefits is only for that year. Thus, the entire amount is charged to income statement, does not appear in the balance sheet. So, the capital expenditure will appear in the balance sheet and the revenue expenditure will be always shown in the trading and profit and loss. Before going to the deferred revenue expenditure, how to find out if there is going to be an alteration in your profit and loss account? See, this expenditure is a revenue expenditure, you treat it. But the department will say, no, this is not a revenue expenditure, it's a capital expenditure. Has to be determined with each and every facts of the case. Based on these, whether it is increasing the earning capacity or maintains the earning capacity, whether it is a recurring item, has to be decided in each and every facts of the case. Then you will find a different word called deferred revenue expenditure. What is this deferred revenue expenditure means? Which is basically, it can be spread out for a number of years for heavy advertisement expenditures, which can be apportioned for a period of the period in which the expenditure for 10 years or 5 years or whatever it may be. Even you can get it as preliminary expenditures are all called as deferred revenue expenditure, which can be equally distributed for a period of 10 years during that period, which is called as a deferred revenue expenditure. Now we will find out what is the difference between a capital expenditure and a deferred revenue expenditure. It's a very simple thing that deferred expenditure, which has been incurred, which cannot be recovered back generally. And deferred revenue expenditure, we will assume it for a period of 3 to 5 years or whatever it may be, but capital expenditure will be for a 10 or 15 years. Capital expenditure can be recovered either by way of cash because you sell your assets, whether you will get a loss or gain or whatever it may be. But deferred revenue expenditure, whatever is incurred, even in a year, which will be spread over for a period of, if I expend an amount of preliminary expenditure in this year, this will be spread out for a period of 10 years during my accounting period. I cannot claim it in the year in which I have incurred the expenditure. This is the broad distinction between a capital expenditure and a deferred revenue expenditure. Now we have just gone through the concept of expenditures. Now we are going to see what is the difference between a receipt, whether it is a capital receipt or a revenue receipt. Then I will take you to the case laws, how it will be, which is called as a revenue expenditure, which is a capital expenditure, which is a capital receipt or a revenue receipt. First, I will discuss about what are the expenditures, which is capital revenue, what is capital receipt and revenue receipt. Now, if you see what is capital receipts, contribution of a capital, which is known to any person who in the business, if a proprietor or a shareholder, whoever invests certain money, these are all capital receipts, it's my capital, or any sum received from a debenture holders by way of loan or whatever it may be is also a capital receipt. Sale proceeds of any fixed assets or a long-term investments will all be treated as a capital receipt, which is not taxable. I will just come into this in the subsequent slides. What are all the revenue receipts? The revenue receipts is your sales, whatever you do, the sales are the outcome of the firm's activity in the accounting period. Suppose if I am a jewelry business, I sell jewelry, which is my stock in trade, I sell that one. Those receipts are treated as a revenue receipt. This is my total revenue receipts. Or I do a commission business, your sales, your commission, your fees received by the professionals. As a lawyer, what we received is all revenue receipts. And interest on dividends and investments is also treated as the revenue receipts. These are all the broad thing which we can find out what are all the revenue receipts and what are all the capital receipts. So the distinction is that capital receipts, it includes amounts realized by sale of fixed assets. So when you sell an asset, so asset is a capital thing. So whatever I have just received, it is a capital receipt. Here, revenue receipt includes amount realized by sale of goods or rendering services. So I do a service, that is, you sell your stock in trade or whatever it may be will also be treated as a revenue receipt. As a professional, whatever the fees you received is also treated as a revenue receipt. So how we will define it? It is a receipt in substitution of a source of income. Is capital receipt, but it is a receipt in substitution of an income. Here it is source of an income. Here it is an income. Whatever we receive, it is always a revenue receipt. And the amount received for surrender of certain rights under an agreement is a capital receipt, because a capital asset is being given up in the form of these rights. It is a capital receipt. Amount received as compensation. The word here I have specifically mentioned surrender of rights under an agreement. Here amount received as a compensation under an agreement for the loss of future receipts is treated always as a revenue receipts. These are the broad total things of what are the capital expenditure, revenue expenditure, deferred revenue expenditure, capital receipts, revenue receipts. You can just bifurcate that these are all the treated as the expenditures, whether it is a revenue expenditure or a capital expenditure. So suppose for an example, I have stated in the left-hand side capital expenditure, purchase cost of a fixed asset. Suppose if I am going to maintain the expenses on the fixed asset or whatever it may be, some repairs or any other thing will be claimed as a revenue expenditure. But if I am going to change the item of a product or replacement of a machinery, will come once again as the capital expenditure, not as a revenue expenditure. Your administrative expenditures, your salary payments are all revenue expenditure. Deferred revenue expenditure, the major repairs. Suppose if a person has laid a road or any other thing, wherein which a road cannot be owned by an assessee or any other thing, these expenditure can be amortized by the person, that the total expenditure what he has incurred in the accounting period till the contract period, he can spread that amount for that period and claim it as a deferred revenue expenditure. Then what are the capital receipts? Life membership, fees, donations, loan borrowed, sale of fixed asset is also a capital receipts, and the sale proceeds of goods, commission and all those things, newspaper, rent received is also treated as revenue receipts. These are all the broad outlook of what are all capital expenditure, revenue expenditure, capital receipts and revenue receipts. Now we are going to come to the main part of this one. We will just discuss certain case laws. How the case laws, they treat it, whether it is a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure. How the courts dealt it, and how the Supreme Court has laid down the test to find out whether these expenditures are a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure. First, we will see all the case laws on the expenditure. Then we will see the case laws on the receipts also. Every business entity is required to maintain the accounts in a proper way as per the rules applicable. The expenditure incurred by the business entity is disallowed by the income tax authorities while computing the profit and loss accounts of the business entity. So this is the problem. See, you claim those things as an expenditure, as a revenue expenditure. The income tax authorities will say that, no, this is not an expenditure, this is not a revenue expenditure, wherein which you can reduce it from, debit it in your profit and loss account or reduce it from your receipts on your revenue receipts. We will disallow it. So they will do that when your income is determined after the receipts and expenditure. Once you have claimed it, they will disallow it and say that this is not a revenue expenditure, this is a capital expenditure. There is always a problem in identifying some sort of expenditure, whether it is a revenue expenditure or a capital expenditure. So much expenditure has been disallowed by the income tax authorities for wrong classification. You have the section 30 to 37 under the Income Tax Act, where they have defined that what are the expenditures which are all allowable. See, for in section 30, they have contemplated rent, rates, repairs and insurance for building. So straight away you can come to a conclusion, these are all revenue expenditure. Repairs and insurance of machinery, plant and furniture contemplated in section 31. 32, depreciation. Straight they say that when, yes, you claim a depreciation, this is a revenue expenditure, it is an expenditure, it can be debited in your profit and loss account, there is no problem. Then section 33, development rebate. 34, condition for the depreciation allowance as well as for the depreciation rebate. We are going to discuss about all those things. Then 35, expenditure on a scientific research. Sometimes the scientific research, they allow it in the year itself, you spend it, or sometimes they will amortize that expenditure for the period in which it is used for 10 years or 5 years or whatever it may be. It all depends upon the facts of the case. Then you come to the major issue is 36, other deductions. In 36.2, you have bad debt. There are 3 words which I want to stress to every participant is that there are 3 words: business loss, capital loss. This everyone knows about. Then there is another word called loss of capital. I will just explain that. What is a business loss? I have purchased a product. I am trading in a jewelry person. I have sold the jewelry for a lesser price. For the purchase cost, it is lesser than the sales cost. So therefore, the sales cost is less than the purchase cost. So I have incurred a loss. Therefore, I can say that it is a business loss. Okay. What is capital loss? Capital loss is if a capital asset purchased by me, which is being sold, I purchase a building, I am a lawyer, I have a house property, it's a capital asset for me. I sell this capital asset for the price. If I have purchased it for 40 lakhs and sells it for 35 lakhs, I have incurred a loss. We will forget about for the indexation and all those things. Straight away now we come to conclusion that he has incurred a loss. This is called a capital loss, which cannot be adjusted in your profit and business or profession. It can be only adjusted in the appropriate capital gains account. This is called capital loss. Then there is another word called loss of capital. What is this? For an example, if a company in which the company's business is to do share business or any other thing, and they have a friend by name of X who has borrowed a loan from a bank, in which for that bank the company which is dealing with shares has been placed as a guarantor, and if the principal borrower has not paid the amount, the bank will file a suit against the guarantor and recover the amount. That amount cannot be claimed anywhere. That is called as loss of capital. Business loss, capital loss, and loss of capital. These are the 3 distinctions which I want to stress to the participants. Then you have the other section in the income from business or profession is called a general section, that any expenditure, whatever it is, section 37 starts with any expenditure, not the expenditure what I have stated prior to 30 to 36. If that is not those expenditures and not being a capital expenditure or a personal expenditure, and it is laid out or expended wholly and exclusively for the purpose of business or profession, those expenditures can be claimed. This is what is general expenditure. How you claim a wages? Comes under, this is expended wholly and exclusively for the purpose of business. Wages wholly and exclusively for the purpose of business or profession. So any expenditure which you incur wholly and exclusively for the purpose of business or profession, it will be generally treated as a revenue expenditure. This is the general expenditure which will come under section 37. But the explanation 1 as well as to explanation 2, they have specifically stated that, for an example, if a person does any business which is an offense or which is prohibited by law, and he incurs such an expenditure for the purpose of business or profession, in such a situation, those expenditures cannot be claimed as a business expenditure. Then explanation 2 for 37 also contemplates one other thing, is that you will know about the corporate social responsibility, CSR payments, which is under section 135 of the Companies Act. In those expenditures, you cannot claim it as a revenue expenditure. These will be treated only as a capital expenditures. So how the Supreme Court has come to the test laid down, which in fact these tests laid down by the Supreme Court or anything is still a debatable issues. They have just barred broadly just stated that if these expenditures is incurred for the initial outlay or for extension of a business or substantial replacement of an equipment, which we call it as a capital expenditure, then they say that where the expenditure is made once and for all and with a view to bring into existence of an asset or an advantage of an enduring nature, the same will ordinarily lead as a capital expenditure. Generally, with the Department Revenues Council always state these expenditures are an enduring nature, therefore it is a capital expenditure. It has to be decided into each and every different facts of the case. You cannot state away that 2 plus 2 is to 4. This is the formula. Therefore, we will say that when this is, you can't decide like that. It has to be depend upon each and every facts of the case. But they have laid down certain tests that if it falls into these issues, then it will be treated as a capital expenditure. If the expenditure is part of the working capital expenses or for a commercial trading, it is treated as a revenue expenditure. And if the expenditure is incurred in the field of fixed capital, it is on capital account, that is capital expenditure. But if it is in the field of circulating capital, it is a revenue account. This is how the test is laid down by the Supreme Court for the expenditures. We will see elaborately how it has been dealt in different courts, how they have held it. Now I will just take you to the judgment in the case of Brook Bond India Limited versus CIT. I have taken only 5 to 6 judgments on the expenditures and 6 judgments on the receipts and capital receipt or a revenue receipt. We will sign it. If a company has incurred on issuing of a share, I just spend certain money, a company for the issuing of a share to increase its share capital, whether it is a revenue expenditure. This is what the Supreme Court stated, that though the increase in the capital result in expansion of the capital base of the company and incidental that would help in the business of the company, but may also help in the profit making, even then the expenses incurred in that connection still retains the character of a capital expenditure, since the expenditure is directly related to the expansion of the capital base of the company. Even though my capital is used for the purpose of business, no, Supreme Court said that even though if it is for helping in the profit making or whatever it may be, it is directly related to the capital base of the company. Therefore, this expenditure incurred by the assessee will always be treated as a capital expenditure and not as a revenue expenditure. That is what the Brook Bond India Limited versus CIT reported in 225 ITR 798 Supreme Court contemplates. This is on the issue of shares to increase its share capital. Then the next case, I am just taking up the Rotar Controls India Limited. This is also one of the famous case wherein which a warranty, see every product I produce and there will be a defect in the warranties or and the product which I sell it, whether that liability, I make a provision for that, whether that liability, whether it is an ascertained liability or an unascertained liability, whether it is a contingent liability or not, but the courts have come to a conclusion that this was the case which is before the Madras High Court. The Madras High Court held that the warranty charges as a contingent liability not deductible. The assessees as well as the respondent contention was the assessee claimed the provision for warranty as a revenue expenditure, holding that the provision as unascertained liability. The assessing authority rejected the plea of the assessee. So the first plot, they claimed it as a revenue expenditure, but the respondent said that it is an unascertained liability. Therefore, we reject the plea of the assessee. They disallowed the expenditure. Madras High Court also confirmed that warranty charges is a contingent liability. Therefore, it is an unascertained liability. It is not deductible. But the Supreme Court said on appeal, they reversed the judgment of the Madras High Court and held that the assessee in the instant case has satisfied all the conditions for creating a provision. See, you make a provision that I will incur these expenditures for the products which I have sold to a person as a warranty or a guarantee or whatever it may be. If the historical trend indicates that a large number of sophisticated goods were being manufactured in the past and if the facts established show that the defects existed in some of the items manufactured and sold, then the provision made for warranty in respect of the arm of such sophisticated goods would be entitled to deduction from the gross receipt under section 37. They take it in under section 37 of the Income Tax Act, that the expenditure which they are going to the provision made is wholly and exclusively for the purpose of business. And the courts have also stated that you cannot straight away come to a conclusion. It will all depend upon the data systematically maintained by the SSC. That is also they have given a rider. You have to satisfy these conditions whether your product is. You cannot make a provision that my product would be a defective, therefore there will be a possibility or some other thing. You cannot assume or something, make a provision or any other thing which can be even in a, suppose if I sell a sari, there will be a defective definitely, therefore they will come for a warranty or a provision. I will make a provision for this. I will give a discount for that person for the subsequent purchase of a sari or anything. No, you can't do such a provision, because whether the person will come back to you or not is unascertainable. So it depends upon the each and every facts of the case. You cannot straight away say that the Supreme Court has stated that every warranty definitely I will have a ROTA controls. There is a direct judgment. It depends upon the data systematically maintained by the SSC, which is very, very important. You can just take it as one of the principles laid down by the courts, but you cannot categorically come to a conclusion. This is what my expenditure, a warranty expenditure is always a revenue expenditure. Then this is one other beautiful judgment, Empire Jute Company Limited versus CIT. There the issue was an incurring expenditure which facilitates the carrying on the business more efficiently and more profitability, leaving the fixed capital untouched. This is very, very, very important. I request all the participants to go through the Empire Jute judgment, which is the main judgment wherein which you can find out there were plenty of tests which has been laid on in those cases, whether it is a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure. But the court has held in the Empire Jute that it is a revenue expenditure, it is not a capital expenditure. And in fact, this judgment, I will just take you to the other slides wherein which I am taking up the non-compete fee payments, whether it is a capital expenditure or revenue expenditure. I will explain you that how they have dealt it. This is one of the famous case of B. Nagireddy versus Commissioner of Income Tax in the Madras High Court. Whether the expenditure incurred by an assessee in production of films which were subsequently abandoned, being not likely to be profitable, was an expenditure incurred for commercial expediency, whether it was allowable as a revenue expenditure. The court held that the assessee, Mr. Nagireddy, is in the film production and other things. Therefore, the expenditure, what he has incurred will, even if the film production itself is become abandoned or any other thing, therefore, this claim is an allowable expenditure, it's a revenue expenditure. This is what the Madras High Court held in the case of B. Nagireddy versus Commissioner of Income Tax 199 ITR 451. But one of the problem is that myself and T.R. Sendil Kumar, we argued one case in the case of Rautar Ibrahim case. The very same Madras High Court, they have held that the abandonment of a film cannot be claimed as a revenue expenditure. How can you claim it as an expenditure? Otherwise, I will also now pay an advance payment to Nayanthara, Trisha, then book them for the other film. I am a lawyer. I am not in the film production or any other thing. I will book them. Then I will say that, but no, I could not take the film. Therefore, this expenditure which I have paid to them is not, it is wholly for and exclusively for the purpose of business. My business is lawyer business. If I have abandoned that picture, it cannot be claimed as a revenue expenditure. It has to be only treated as a capital expenditure. This is what the contentions of the revenue. But subsequently, there was a circular by the board, wherein which they said the rule 9A and 9B, they said that when even in suppose, assuming for a moment that if I have booked a Nayanthara for a film which I am going to take it up, and Nayanthara could not come or she is being scheduled for some other reasons or any other thing, that she is not ready to, I have to abandon the pictures. So in such a situation, it will be treated as a revenue expenditure. This is what the board circular stated that. I still find out whether that board circular will be binding or anything. Still, it has to be discussed. There is still a gray area whether an expenditure or this is only to profession. Where is the question of my taking up a film? It will not be revenue expenditure. It has to be treated only as a capital expenditure. Then this is one other judgment of the Madras High Court in the case of CIT Madurai versus Vishwams. This is RMKV groups, which is reported in 414 ITR 140. The sum and substance of this case is that the assessee has incurred an expenditure towards renovation of a building. See, he has, in fact, you would find out these types of cases, still there is a dispute. For example, Jai Alucas, they would have taken a land for their lease or any other thing. They would have constructed a building or any other thing. Whether that expenditure incurred by the assessee, is it a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure, was a very big dispute. And still, in fact, Hari Vignesh Motors, in fact, the Madras High Court held that it is a revenue expenditure. But subsequently, I broke that and told the court that there is a specific explanation 1 to 32 of the Income Tax Act, which specifically states that any expenditure which you have incurred by an assessee who is not even owned by him, he would have been a lease occupancy or any other thing, for the purpose of this business or profession, on the construction of any structure or doing any work or in relation to by renovation or extension or improvement to the building, then this provision of this clause will be applicable. So once if it says that 32 is applicable, definitely you can claim depreciation. Therefore, it is only a capital expenditure. The Madras High Court accepted that, and they have distinguished all the judgments of the different courts and other things, and even they have overturned the Madras High Court judgment and stated that it is totally bad in law, and they have held that a renovation expenditure. See, suppose if you are going to change the tiles in your business, that is a revenue expenditure. But the expenditure which is going to give a renovation of a building, wherein which you are going to get a benefit which is enduring in nature, definitely this will fall within the ambit of the mischief of explanation 1 to section 32(1). Therefore, this has to be treated only as a capital expenditure. This is in the case of RMK Steel Silks Group of Tirunelveli, and they lost this case also. But subsequently, they have just filed an appeal before the Supreme Court. We have to find out what is the status of those cases. But the Madras High Court has of now has held that it is not a revenue expenditure, it is only a capital expenditure. Then I'm just going to the next judgment, TI Diamond Chain Limited. The assessee terminated an agreement with its marketing agents and took over the agent's marketing establishment for the distribution of its products and paid compensation for the same. They paid a compensation. The acquisition of the staff, personnel, and other infrastructure which are intangible, a negative covenant in the agreement restraining the distribution agents from dealing with similar products for a period of 4 years. These are the covenants which is specifically mentioned. There was a restrictive covenant. Whether these are all, whether it's a revenue expenditure or a capital expenditure, but the court held that this is all a capital expenditure, and it is not. They said that the assessee acquired a profit-making apparatus by the payment of amount. Therefore, it is treated as a capital expenditure. This is one what Madras High Court has held in 202 CTR 272. But I'm going to take you to the other judgment. The next slide will be the slide on non-compete fee payment, how it will be dealt by the Madras High Court. Now, this is one of the major, this has been settled by the Supreme Court in the case of CIT versus Sarangpur Cotton Manufacturing. Whether replacement of a machinery, whether it is a revenue expenditure or a capital expenditure. Because you would have seen section 31 of the income tax, repairs and insurance of a plant and machinery. If it is a repairs, it is under section 31. But if you replace a machine, the total machine, one of the product has been replaced itself. The courts have now settled that no, we will not allow it as a revenue expenditure. It will be definitely treated as only a capital expenditure, and the whole issues have been settled by the Supreme Court. There was Sarana Spinning Mills, then Mangair Karsi, and all those judgments were all discussed, and they took a view that we will not treat it as a current repairs. This will be only treated as a expenditure as a capital expenditure and not as a revenue code. And this is the issue on non-compete fee. See, in the there will be a restrictive covenant that if a company wants to remove one of the director will say that when I will remove myself from this business and you pay me a compensation to this extent, whether that such compensation is a receipt, whether it is a revenue receipt or a capital receipt, that we will see in the subsequent slide. Whether such a payment of a non-compete fee paid by a company, this is an expenditure. We are talking about only on expenditures. This is a very good judgment of the Madras High Court. I argued before the Honorable Justice Sivanyanam and Bhavani Subbarayan. In fact, the other side was Senior Counsel Mr. Sporas Kaka. We had a lengthy argument for 2 days in the case of Asianet Communication 407 ITR 706. The assessee relied upon these cases. I'm just giving you the gist of the, if I have to take a class on this, it will take definitely a day's time. Whether a non-compete fee and the revenue has relied upon of these cases, wherein which the Madras High Court itself has held that in sharp business, that a non-compete fee expenditure incurred by an assessee, they have capitalized and they have claimed depreciation on that. Once that is being treated, how can you treat that as a revenue expenditure was my first question before this Honorable High Court. And I have stated in Neil Kamal's, Blaze India and all those cases, they have stated specifically that the expenditure incurred by the assessee is to restrain a person not to do a competing business. So in such a situation, whether it is a capital or a revenue expenditure, still this has not been settled. The revenue as the income tax department has preferred an appeal before the Supreme Court. It is also admitted pending for a long period of time. Now we have to come to a conclusion whether these non-compete fee payment, whether it is a revenue expenditure or a capital expenditure. Courts have held that it is a revenue expenditure in some cases. Some cases they have held it is a capital expenditure. Assessee is eligible for depreciation. So there is still a conflict views, but it has not been settled. One has to read all these judgments. You can find out. This is reported in 407 ITR 706. If you read the judgment, you will understand whether the non-compete payment, whether it can be claimed in the hands of the assessee who makes the payment, whether it is a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure. So with that portion, I just completed what are the judgments, important judgments I have come across, I have placed before you, whether it is a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure. Now I will come to the issue on receipts. All the revenue receipts are accessible under the Act unless specifically exempt. A capital receipt or may not be so chargeable to tax. A capital receipt would be chargeable to tax where it falls for consideration under section 45 of the Income Tax Act. This is capital gains. See, suppose if I have a house property, I sell that property, I said it is a capital loss or a capital gain. This is how you can think of for a moment. What is capital asset in the hands of a one person may be a trading asset in the hands of another person. And accordingly, the nature of receipt may consequently vary according to the nature of trade in connection with which it arises. So suppose if in my case, if it is I'm a trading person, to my this one I sell a land or any other thing. For a real estate person, it is not a capital asset, it is a stock in trade. So it will be a revenue receipt. But as a lawyer, I have purchased a land which is treated as an investment or a capital asset. If I sell that one, that will be treated or chargeable under section 45 of the Income Tax Act, which will be treated only as a capital receipt, which will never come into the pictures of my profit and loss account. It will be assessed separately under the head capital gains. This is the broad gesture. So you can come to one conclusion that if you are dealing with this as a stock in trade, any receipts out of it will be treated as a revenue receipts. And if it is not a stock in trade or any other thing, it will not be treated as a revenue receipt. It will be treated as a capital receipt. So to determine whether it is a fixed capital or a circulating capital, this determination is very, very important. The determining factor must be the nature of trade in which the asset is employed. The land upon which a manufacturer carrying on his business is a part of his fixed capital. See, if I have purchased a land, I am doing a business on it, I manufacture an activity, the land what I owned or the building which will be treated as a fixed capital. But the land with which a dealer in real estate carrying on his business is part of his circulating capital, which is also a stock in trade. He is dealing with the land, so whatever he sells will be always treated as a revenue receipts. The machinery which a manufacturer makes the article that he sells is a part of fixed capital. The machinery, the dealer himself is a machinery person who is dealing with the machinery, which is bought and sold, will be always treated as a circulating capital. This is how I differentiated the fixed capital and the circulating capital. So now how to determine whether this receipt is a capital receipt or a revenue receipt? The courts have held that if a transaction is in the assessee's ordinary line of business, then there is no difficulty. You can hold that it is in the nature of trade. You can definitely treat it as a revenue receipt. That is, they have decided in the case of CET versus Lakshmi Surgical 202 ITR 601. Where a transaction is outside the assessee's normal line of business, then the nature of this transaction depends upon the facts and circumstances of each case. This I will put it in a different version. Where a transaction is not in the normal line of the assessee's business, but a single isolated transaction. Most of the problem which will appear here is that an individual person who would have purchased acres of land, then he would have plotted out those lands into small plots and sold those plots to different parties. Whether that will be treated as a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure is still a debate and dispute issues, wherein which you can see those judgments from the olden days in the Vinay Kumar, and there are plenty of judgments. In fact, I will just circulate those judgments subsequently if I have time on this. So you have to depend upon that. Even if maybe an individual person purchased a land, he would have sold it into different pieces of plots and other things. Whether it is a capital receipt or a revenue receipt, it is the onus is on the revenue to prove that whether that transaction is an adventure in the nature of trade. You can go through this judgment Ashok Kumar versus CIT, which is reported in 187 ITR 316 in the Bombay. So if suppose for an example, this is what will happen in share trading and securities. Profit or loss on sale of shares would be capital if the seller is an ordinary investor. I'm a lawyer, I have invested in shares, I sell those shares. These are all my business, my capital investment. All these receipts will be a capital receipts, which will be assessed as whether it is a capital loss or a capital receipt under section 45, which will not be treated as a revenue receipt. But if the person who is dealing in the shares and securities, for such a person, this will not be treated as a capital receipt. It will be treated as a revenue receipt, which is also discussed in 177 ITR 253. The finding of whether dealing in shares is business income or a capital in nature has to be decided on the basis of frequency, volume, and magnitude of the transaction. You all go through this judgment 340 ITR 75. They have elaborately discussed. See, this is also one other gray area where the department always treats that the person who, even if they have invested in the shares, the magnitude of the share transaction is other things is done. They treat it then, no, this is a business transaction, it is a business receipt in the hands of the assessee. There are future and options, intra trade and all those things. One has to depend upon the each and every facts of the case to find out whether it is a capital receipt or a revenue receipt. This is a case on the compensation or damages which assessee received, whether it is a capital receipt or a revenue receipt. This is a very, very important judgment. CIT versus Saurashtra Cements 325 ITR 422, where the nature of liquidated damages received by a company from the supplier of a plant or failure for supply. See, because the assessee has ordered for a plant and machinery, but they have not supplied the plant and machinery within the stipulated period of time. There was a delay in that. What would be whether it is a capital receipt or a revenue receipt? The Apex Court affirmed the decision of the High Court and held that the damages were directly and intimately linked to the procurement of a capital asset, that is the plant, which lead to delay in coming to existence of the profit-making apparatus. See, the word is existence of the profit-making apparatus. It was not a receipt in the course of profit-earning process. Therefore, it was held that the amount received by the assessee is only a capital receipt and therefore not taxable. So I just want to bring to the participants Saurashtra Cements 325 ITR 422 Supreme. Then if it is compensation, this is if it is interest and damages, how the courts have held that. Where a sum is received by way of interest under a contract, award, decree or order, it is the interest and therefore clearly taxable as an income. That is what is held by 63 ITR 458. The Supreme Court in the Tuticorin and Alkalis, which is reported in 227 ITR 172, has held that interest income is always a revenue receipt and unless it is received by way of a damage or a compensation. Otherwise, this always generally interest is always a revenue receipt. That is what the courts have held that. The Supreme Court has laid down that if the deposit of money is directly linked to purchase of plant and machinery or incidental to setting up of a plant or a machinery, the interest received by the assessee is always a revenue receipt and it is not a capital receipt, which is also dealt in the case of CET versus Karnataka Power 247 ITR 268. In respect of damages received and interest and the compensation, I have taken these judgments. There are plenty of judgments also, but with the limited time in the COVID, I could only take out these judgments which are important. Now the major problem is subsidies and grants which is received by a company, whether that will be treated as a capital receipt or a revenue receipt. It is a wonderful thing which is still there are disputes. The revenue says that it is all only a revenue receipts, but the assessee's point of view, they say that if the subsidies and grants, what we receive, it is always a capital receipts. It is not a revenue receipts. The Supreme Court in the Shanley Steel versus CIT 228 ITR 253, you can go through this judgment. They have stated these are the principles. The character of the subsidy in the hands of the receipt, whether revenue or capital, will have to be determined having regard to the purpose for which the subsidy is given. So the very purpose for which the subsidy is which is given, will determine the portion whether it is a capital receipt or a revenue receipt. The source of the funds from which the subsidy is given is immaterial. So they said that one from which source the subsidy is given is immaterial. We will go only for the purpose for which the subsidy is given. The manner in which the subsidy is given is of no consequence if the subsidy is given to the assessee to assist him to set up his business or complete a project. Is a capital receipt. Suppose if the subsidy is given for to purchase of a plant and machinery or whatever it may be, if we to set up a business, assist him to set up his business or to complete a project, those receipts are capital receipts which is not taxable. But if the subsidy is given to the assessee to assist him in carrying on his trade or business, see, I have underlined the trade or business, then it will be treated as a revenue receipt. Mostly, what is the problem? The the conflict between the revenue as well as the assessees. The assessee receives the subsidies and grants even after establishing the business. If they receive these after the commencement of the production and any other thing, definitely those subsidies, unless otherwise it is for the purchase of a plant or a machinery, definitely those subsidies will be only treated as a revenue receipt, and it cannot be treated as a capital receipt. Not given only after and condition upon commencement of production. Such subsidy must be treated as an assistance for the purpose of trade or business. Therefore, it should be treated as a revenue receipt and not as a capital receipt. There are plenty of decision on subsidies and grants. Example of subsidies being capital in nature and therefore not taxable. See, excise duty incentive schemes which are required in the incentives to be utilized for repayment of loans taken up to set up new units for substantial expansion. Ponni Sugars, they have stated in Supreme Court, Ponni Sugars and Chemicals 306 ITR 440 that it is being a capital nature, not taxable. Grant given by government to a corporation before commencement of business. There is a judgment in the CIT versus Trade Trading Corporation 92 ITR 294. This is also capital in nature, therefore it is not taxable. But an example of subsidy being a revenue in nature, when sales tax subsidies, grants given by a public sector for functioning of these subsidies, in these two cases, they have stated that it is a revenue expenditure. So it revenue receipts, I'm sorry. So it depends upon the sales tax subsidy or a grant or a subsidy which I have received it for the purpose of my day-to-day production or a business. It will be treated as a revenue receipt. Otherwise, it will be always treated as a capital receipts. You can go through 290 ITR 655, 257 ITR 241 also. Then I will come to the last portion of the issue is a non-compete fee which is received. What we had is that this is one other problem. We have seen the non-compete fee on a payment by a company to restrain a person, whether it is a capital expenditure or a revenue expenditure. The very same way, whether this non-compete fee, see, I will just tell you one thing that in a capital expenditure in one's hand need not be a capital receipt in the hands of another person. I have already explained. So definitely if it is a capital in the assessee's hand, it is treated as a capital expenditure. Therefore, it should be treated as a capital receipts only in my hands. You cannot say like that. There is no hard and fast. But the Supreme Court in the case of Gufichem has stated that, see, in the Income Tax Act, we did not have a provision under section 28(5). They have very categorically stated that which came into existence only from 1/4/2003, where we have specifically stated that any amount or any cash or whatever received, the value of benefit or any sum whether received or receivable in cash or kind under an agreement. This is in 28 class 5A, which came into effect from 1/4/2003. To curb that, they have treated all these non-compete fee as a negative covenant, as a capital receipt. Supreme Court said that in Gufichem, prior to 1/4/2003, if the non-compete fee is received, this will be treated as a capital receipt. After 1/4/2003, when this is received, definitely we will bring in under section 28 class 5A, and we will say that any amount received or receivable in any of it for a negative covenant, it will be treated as a receipt in the hands of the assessee, and it will be treated as a revenue receipts. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very interesting presentation. So now the floor is open to the participants for asking your queries. I see a couple of queries already in the chat boxes.
Definitely, I'll go through that. And S&S Enterprises Private Limited, Viswams confirmed by Supreme Court. So, in fact, my judgment has been confirmed by the Supreme Court. Thank you very much. The time spent on this session is capital or revenue. Certainly, capital as it benefited would be occurring for a long period of time. Whether it should be taxable or not, we find out in the due course of your response.
I'm sorry, I read that as a query.
So, in fact, the capital and revenue is still expenditure as well as in the receipts, but it's a debatable issue. But I took a bold decision to take up a session on this. Any queries, and I just welcome any other. If I have done any mistakes or anything, please kindly rectify me on those mistakes if I have done anything. Please.
Yes, sir. I see hands raised from iPad. I don't know who's the username for iPad, but I'll unmute him first or her. So can you please
It's me,
introduce
Prithvi.
yourself?
Yeah, it's me. It's me.
Oh, Aparna,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
Aparna, madam.
I was wondering actually,
I don't know what
Aparna
I
ma'am
think
didn't join.
No. Actually, I think my daughter was using it, so I think she probably changed the username or something.
Okay.
Swaminathan, fabulous. I mean, you made it so clear. I know the debate is going on, but it was fabulous. Just one doubt which I want you to clarify, because
Please.
it's a very basic doubt. Don't think.
No, even I have taken only basic of capital receipt and revenue receipt, capital expenditure.
A very, very basic doubt I want to ask.
Yeah, please.
You're talking about this non-compete fee payment. At
Yes.
the payment, it is either considered as a revenue expenditure or a capital expenditure, isn't it? That's what you are saying. When you are saying that it is considered as a capital expenditure, you said that depreciation could be claimed. I didn't understand that.
Absolutely beautiful question. In fact, Madras High Court has stated that it will be treated as an intangible asset. We will allow it as a capital expenditure. They are eligible for depreciation. I still find out even in
I'm
this
not able to understand that.
It cannot be treated as a. In fact, there are plenty of disputes on this one. How can you treat it as an intangible asset and claim it as a? See, the section very clearly contemplates under section 32. I will just read out.
What exactly is intangible asset? That is, you're talking about the intellectual property involved, is it? What is the
Absolutely. I'm just taking. In fact, they have specifically inserted a word that know-how, patent, copyright, trademark, license, franchisee, or any other business or commercial rights. They say that one of similar nature. They say that one, this is non-compete fee is a similar nature. Therefore, we will treat it as a capital expenditure eligible for a depreciation.
Taking it to such far heights, isn't it?
I'm still, in fact, for the revenue, definitely cannot be treated as a. Even if you see, otherwise, every expenditure you treat it as a capital expenditure eligible for depreciation. How is it possible? Until otherwise, you fit into the capital asset or to the section under section 32.
Correct.
So, but they say that when they extend it that of similar nature, we will definitely
treat it as a capital. Okay, one more question I wanted to ask. See, regarding this corporate social responsibility, CSR.
Yes.
How is it treated at the hands of the payer and how is it treated at the hands of the payee?
No, in fact, actually, in respect of the payment only, I have just gone through it. I have not treated in the recipient. In the corporate social responsibility, if you make an expenditure on this one, the explanation 2 to section 37, they have specifically stated that as per the Companies Act 135, this will not be treated as a revenue expenditure. It will be only treated as a capital expenditure. You cannot claim it as a revenue expenditure. So,
okay, so the tax has to be paid, right? Thank you very much.
Specifically given in explanation 2 to the text that they cannot reduce it from the profit. So that is so they have to only adjust it as an expenditure.
So it will be in the course of the, see, why I'm asking this is, why I'm asking this question is, because this will have a lot of relevance under GST, whether it is a payment in the course of business or whether it should be treated as a donation, as an exempt from GST.
No, in fact, that's what the problem is. The problem is in respect to the Income Tax Act. This is specifically they have given in explanation 2. I'll just read the explanation 2 in respect of 37.
Yes.
For the removal of doubts, it is hereby declared that for the purpose of subsection 1, that is 37, any expenditure incurred by an assessee on the activities relating to corporate social responsibility
Okay.
referred to in section 135 of the Companies Act 2013, 18 of 2013, shall not be deemed to be an expenditure incurred by the assessee for the purpose of business or profession. They have specifically clearly stated that you cannot claim it as a revenue expenditure. This is not for the purpose of business or profession. You cannot bring it under 37. So you cannot reduce it from your profit. It has to be treated as a capital expenditure. But how I will treat it, you can take this analogy to GST also.
That's what.
That's my view as a revenue counsel.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Sir, I'll unmute Jay Kumar sir, and then after that JK sir also.
Yeah. Jayakumar sir, தெரிஞ்ச கேள்வியா கேளுங்க சார்.
இல்ல எனக்கு ஆன்சர் தெரியாது. See, you said about Saurashtra Cement. Okay. Delay in handing over the plant and machinery, damages claimed, compensation given. Just assume in COVID situation. Yeah, in COVID situation, will it be capital?
Definitely, it has to be treated as a capital expenditure. Absolutely, sir. There is no doubt. Even if the department takes out and a different, we can't bring it because there will be a COVID situation. I cannot supply the material. Definitely, it is. You can apply for Saurashtra.
You can say it's capital receipt in the person who receives the money.
Yes,
the other person can claim depreciation.
One of the issue which has to do, it depends upon, sir. It depends upon the problem is, see, even if I've taken up the subsidy and grants, there are conflicting decisions by various courts. You have to take out the test laid down in the Shahinley Steels. What is that? Whether it is for a capital or for the fixed assets or any other thing, whether that receipt will be a capital receipt. And if it is after the commencement of the business, excise duty, they said it's a capital expenditure. Sales tax, it is a revenue receipts. So it depends upon it. You cannot have a hard and fast rule. It depends upon to each and every facts of those cases.
No,
that's how the courts have dealt it.
Yeah, in 2020 amendment in income, they said subsidy is income.
Yes.
So they've lost all the judgments.
All the
is gone.
Absolutely.
Gone.
In fact, I have specifically thank you very much, sir.
No problem. Last question, sir. The Taparia tools. See, what happened in Taparia tools was Justice Kapadia was sitting in the Delhi in Bombay High Court. There was a debenture redemption. They said if you want to redeem the debenture, you can take it for this price. If you want to spread over, you can take it for the enhanced price. The Justice Kapadia said, no. If you take this for a lesser price, that is your income or expenditure, as the case may be. Now, the Supreme Court Justice Sikri confirming this, and he said it's an option open to you to claim this or claim that. What does it mean? What does it mean?
Sir, in fact, I will just tell you, sir, the same similar situation I will tell you, sir. Sir, if you even there are certain situations wherein which an assessee incurs a laying of road, even you have that the toll fees payment or whatever you just receive or whatever it is, the expenditure for the laying of a road or whatever it may be. Can you claim a depreciation on the laying of a road? How is it possible? Because you don't own that road. It is only by way of contract, you just receive it. The expenditure, what you have incurred for the period of 15 years of contract, whatever it may be, you can amortize those expenditure. That is what the reasons, both circular also states it. You can't claim it as an expenditure in 1 year and claim it as a revenue expenditure that this is what I have sent it. Or treat it as a fixed expenditure. In fact, you can treat it as a fixed expenditure, capital expenditure, claim for depreciation because it is one and the same. You can equally distribute it for a different period of time. But there are still disputes. Even on for a road laid by the courts have not held it. They said that whether it is 15%, 10%, whether you own the road or not, still it is a conflicting issues. No one can give an answer until otherwise the Supreme Court or other courts comes to those extent, sir.
There's a House of Law judgment that says that whether an expenditure or income is capital or revenue is the toss of the coin.
Pardon, sir?
Is a toss of the coin.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
So, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Whether it is Thank you very much, sir, for giving me that input that subsidies have now become income. You need not to go to any other judgment.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, for which there is an article written by Mr. Arvind Dattar also on this specifically. Senior
Yeah,
counsel
I saw that.
wrote
I
an
saw
article
that.
that you are not supposed to treat it all the subsidies as a revenue or something like that. Otherwise, even in COVID situation, then no one will receive
Correct.
this amount. They will treat it as a total income of an assessee.
Income.
Is
Right,
it
right.
possible? So,
Thank you so much.
Still,
It was very
yeah,
good
yeah.
presentation. Good
thank you very
presentation.
much, sir. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Sir, I'll unmute JK, sir.
Hi, Swami.
Yes, sir.
First, my heartfelt congratulations, because presentation with passion I saw. See, I've seen so many people presenting with so many USPs. Your USP is there is a verb. I would call it as a verb. Fantastic. அதாவது ரொம்ப புரியாதவங்களுக்கு கூட ஒரு ஈர்ப்பு. There is a charismatic presentation. I have to congratulate you. Fine. That made me to even ask a question out of my complete terrain. நல்ல வேளை என் பேர் ஒருத்தவர் வந்து பட்டக்கைய கிளப்பிட்டார் முன்னால. So there is no
கண்டிப்பா.
problem.
He is a master in income tax.
அவர் லெஃப்ட் ஹேண்ட் சைடுல 6 அடிக்கிறார் அப்படி.
Anyway, நேத்திக்கு அந்த வாத்தியார் சம்பாவத்தியம் சொன்னார்ல, அதோட இம்பாக்ட் அது.
Impact.
Did very well and amazing, and that 1 minute he made the world.
Exactly. Swami, my question to you would be, it will be very pedestal. Please bear with me. Number one is, you were saying about capital and revenue when you were explaining. You were saying that replacement of a machinery could be capital and maintenance of a machinery could be revenue.
Yes, sir.
இது வந்து, for example, how do you decide that? Because a replacement could be a maintenance could be a replacement.
Absolutely, sir.
How do
That
you,
is, yes,
where is
there are still, yes. But the Supreme Court stated that, see, in the machinery part, what you have changed has to be explained by you. See, whether it is a current repairs under section 31, what I have given in the slide, that current repairs, any repairs or anything, you have to prove to the department whether it is a repair or a replacement. If the department comes to a conclusion that it is a replacement, it is a capital expenditure. If you can prove that no, it is only a repair, what I have done, it depends upon the facts that the earning capacity or the production, whether it is increased or decreased, has to be substantiated only by the assessee. Then we will come to the conclusion whether it is a revenue expenditure or a capital expenditure.
Oh, fine.
Second part, see, in fact, this was the dispute which was going on for a very long period, sir. Whether it is a capital receipt, then the Mangair Karsi, Sarana, there are plenty of decisions on the Income Tax Act. They have just remanded the matter to CIT appeal. Once again, they will come back, and on the part of low tax effect, we will withdraw those appeals. Situations have happened in all those things. But the problem is that it is for the assessee to prove that whether the expenditure what I have incurred, is it the efficiency of that machinery on the production, whether it is increased or not. That has to be proved by the assessee. Then you can say that one, no, it is only a repair, therefore it is current repairs, eligible under section 31, definitely it is a revenue expenditure. If you say that one, no, I have replaced this part of machinery, straight fit, it is replacement, capital expenditure. This is how the courts have held it. You can go, I will just circulate those judgments, you can go through that. And in fact, still Supreme Court has not given me that. Suppose if I'm in a textile industry, I have changed a single part of a machinery. It's a conflict.
True.
Whether will you say it as a repair? Most of these cases came only from Coimbatore.
Question is also
because
coming
that is the industry card. The textile industries will be there. Loom, replacement of machinery, or it's a repairs made.
True. And one more question.
Yes, sir.
See, regarding if I'm going to do an advertisement for the company,
yes,
say, for adding humor, we'll take Sarana stores. And our advertisement is a humor. So, if the gentleman is acting for the owner of Sarana store is acting for a shoot for Sarana, or இப்போ அதை ஒரு வருஷத்துக்கு மட்டும் யூஸ் பண்றாரு, ஏன்னா அது seasonal. Say for Adi Talvadi is doing a shoot, For Diwali, he's doing a shoot. Now, will this be classified as a deferred revenue expenditure, or it will be considered as a revenue?
Generally, sir, that's what you can claim it to the extent of the period in which you utilize it. See, generally, if I take it up the Sarana stores expenditure, you incur a heavy expenditure. See, the department always say that when you spread the expenditure.
True. But it is
They
meant
will not say that when you claim it. See, because if you claim it in the year in which you have incurred it, there will not be a receipt or any other thing. There will not be a matching concept to this extent. This is called a matching concept, what we call in the accounting parlance or any other thing. The receipt as well as the expenditure, what you have incurred should have a match. See, suppose if I have incurred my expenditure in for development, land, everything I incur in the whole one day, I will not have the sale of land, nothing will be there. I will claim the whole expenditure in 1 year, bring it as to a loss. Then apportion, whenever I sell a property, I will adjust it against it and then reduce my tax. That they say that one, no, the accounting standards contemplate that you have to concentrate on this. That's why they say that defer the revenue expenditure to this extent that you have incurred a heavy advertisement expenditure to a period to which you utilize it. That's what I gave an example for the road contract. I lay a road. The road cannot be my own thing. But that expenditure, if I have incurred that, I can spread it to the contract period till I maintain the road. Whatever the expenditure I claim it, you apportion that this is the expenditure I will spread out for a period of 10 years till the period of contract. You claim.
My question is, this man Sarona is doing it only for the RD period. Again, he is going for a different costume and doing for different, of course.
Definitely, you can definitely claim it as a revenue expenditure, but the department will not accept it. It will say that when these are all deferred revenue expenditure. It all depends upon the facts and circumstance of each and every case. How you have claimed that expenditure. See, I have even stated that abandoned pictures. There is still no decision to this one. So the capital and revenue, you can't straight away say that, yes, sir, this is capital, this is revenue. You can't point blank straight away come to a conclusion at all.
Understood.
It depends upon the facts of the case.
Wonderful.
You can definitely claim this expenditure is for the RD. This is only for the period of RD. Therefore, I will claim it as a revenue expenditure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you once again, Swami. This is a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Sir, there is one question in the chat box.
Yes. Yeah, I have seen the tenancy rights as whether it is a capital receipt or as per section 28(5)(a). Is it so that?
Sendil Kumar sir has given an answer that 28(VA) tenancy rights are capital receipt.
Yeah, tenancy rights are capital receipt under what clause? Agreement includes any arrangement or understanding or. In fact, I don't find anything such. 28(5)(a) I have not seen like that. Who has sent that? Sendil? Swami here.
I'll unmute him.
Yeah, please.
Sendil sir?
Yes, Swami.
Yeah, Sendil. Which one? Which part? 28.
Sorry, saying that whether tenancy right is a capital receipt or not. Say that Bombay cases are there. It was prior to 2003, it is not capital in there. It was a revenue receipt. After that, because of 28(5)(a), it has become.
In the section, I have not seen like that. In fact, actually, I think the section says that any sum, whether received or receivable in cash or kind, and an agreement for not carrying any activity in relation to any business or profession. This is only for the respect of the restrictive covenant, I feel so. Whether it is for the tenancy rights?
What we call it as the pagadi that we used to receive, that is an agreement is being entered. Say, I have been occupying a property here. For that property, I entered into an agreement with my landlord, thereby I get some compensation. So in such cases, in that way, 28(5)(a), it comes into operation and it is held that capital receipt after 1/4/2003 onwards.
Right, I have not come across such a situation. But anyway, thanks for giving me an input, because the sum received on all these cases on 28(5) will talk about only for the compensation for the restrictive covenant. Only for that purpose they brought the. But after 1/4/2003, I'll just pick it up, Sandal. Apparently, it's a very good input.
Internet case law is also.
Pardon?
Sir, not audible.
I don't remember the case law.
Okay. Anyway, for us, why you worry about it? If it is for the revenue or a capital receipt, then we will just check it up. In fact, I have not come across to such a situation on tenancy rights or any other thing. But in fact, there are cases even on the copyrights and other things. If it is more than 25 years, it will be treated as a sale or something like that. That will be a capital receipt and all those things. I think Mr. Arvind Dattar has argued one of the matter in those types of issues. But still, all these are debatable issues. Capital versus revenue will never settle at any point of time.
Okay, sir.
Very good.
Sir, yes, sir. Chidambaram sir wants to ask a question.
Yes, please.
Chidambaram. Chidambaram sir, can you hear us? Chidambaram sir.
Just further explain it from the income
Yes.
perspective. From the income
Sir, can you
perspective.
repeat your question?
No. I'm not asking a question. I'm just trying to supplement whatever Mr. Swaminathan has explained to the question raised by Mr. Jaykumar on the deferred revenue expenditure. Sarana Store's example, which he had taken for
Yes,
advertisements. So there, I just wanted to add from the income angle. So if I can give an example, the Mahindra Holidays kind of a case where they have
Exactly.
time share.
True. Time sharing and other things. They will spread it for a.
Yes. So the
Mahindra,
income, just like for the expenditure, what happens to the income is that
income. Yes.
Agreement. You will have the right to use the property for a period of 10 years or 25 years. So the court has held that you cannot, though you receive the entire amount in the year one, you cannot.
You have to spread it for the 25 years and.
Exactly.
Is it correct?
So I just thought it would be, from the income perspective, I thought I'll supplement whatever Mr.
True. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. In fact, Mahindra Holidays, absolutely. It's a wonderful judgment on the income content. I know that. Yes.
Thank you, sir. I hope JK sir must have heard that.
Got that.
Are there any other questions? APS sir wants to supplement something. I'll unmute.
Swaminathan sir.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful session today. Your threadbare analysis of capital and revenue expenditure receipts, and you went to subsidies also. You covered all the portions. So I hope mostly we advocates are concerned. We routinely buy computer and also enter into agreement for repair and maintenance services. And we also buy that our taxman and other case laws softwares. So I think all would be eligible to be claimed as revenue expenditure. What you?
Most of the expenditure, what we have claimed it as a revenue expenditure. In fact, the courts are but the problem is, in fact, there was a case which I have dealt in an operation theater, whether an equipment used, and you treat it as a life-saving drug or any other thing and claim it as a revenue expenditure. Court held that no, the section, whatever it is stated, no, I will not accept. This will all treated as a revenue expenditure. Courts are always in favor of the assessee because they say that one don't go by strict parlance that these are all the only we will treat it as a revenue expenditure or anything. They are eligible for depreciation on those items also as a life-saving drug. And see, because if my computer or any other thing with a battery or other thing, the expenditure what I have incurred connected to it, whether it will be treated as a capital expenditure or revenue expenditure, still we have a problem. A battery to the laptop, whether it is or an inverter which is used in a household or any other thing, or in a factory, whether it is a capital expenditure or revenue. These types of problems which happened everywhere in the department, but courts have now come to a conclusion that those are all revenue expenditure. You allow it in the, so bring it, it is wholly and exclusively for the purpose of business. Treat it
May I
as 37
supplement,
and claim the expenditure.
May I supplement, Swaminathan?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
See, Shanti Bhushan claimed his heart operation as a revenue expenditure because he said his body was a plant. Mr. V. Ramachandran claimed the senior counsel's gown expenses as revenue expenditure. This is off the record.
Yes.
And Shanti Bhushan said, my body is a plant and heart is my tool of my trade. Delhi High Court said, go to hell. Of course, he's not gone to hell.
See,
Okay.
that's what, sir. The problem is how it is to be wholly and exclusively for the purpose of business is the key word for 37. So it has to be
Yeah,
decided.
the Ramachandran thing was very, very exciting. Senior counsel's gown expenses, he wanted to deliberately claim it. Just, I don't know, just for kick of it. I don't know what happened. Similarly, when I was in Mr. Ramamani's office, Justice Sethu Raman's salary was said to be not taxable. There was a Padmanabhan won the case. Just Pushya's father won the case because he's a constitutional head. His salary cannot be taxed. Similarly, Govind Swaminathan's salary, whether to be taxed or not, Padmanabhan argued. I mean, so many interesting things Padmanabhan had done
Yes, sir.
quietly. Yeah, quietly.
We have
Quite good.
seen even the MLAs and MPs salary, which is not be taxed as a salary, it will come under the income from other sources.
Always, always.
It will not be taxed as salaries. It will be under.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what. It
Thank
will
you
not
so
be a
much.
salary, or you are not eligible for deduction or any other thing. So there
Correct.
are mentioned. I should thank
Thank
the Madras Tax Bar, AP Srinivas, Hemalata, Aparna Nandakumar, and JK for giving me this opportunity to speak in the Madras Tax Bar. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Swaminathan sir. Wonderful session. We will look forward for more such sessions from you. So I thank all the participants also for joining us today.
Absolutely. I should thank the participants first to patiently
Yes,
hearing
sir.
me for this 1.5 hours. Thanks a lot.
Uh,
Thank you.
So I think Chidambaram sir also wants to add on something. Sir, you want to add on something?
No, I just wanted to, on a lighter note, when Mr. AP Srinivas sir asked about what are the expenses that a counsel can or an advocate can claim as expenditure, there was an interesting case. I don't want to mention the name of the senior advocate. What happened? The issue was senior advocate underwent heart surgery.
Yeah. That's what now. Just now, Mr. V.S. Jayakumar has explained that.
Shanti Bhushan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's reported judgment.
He has
Reported
mentioned
judgment.
the name also. It's a reported. You worry about
Yeah.
it.
Okay. I just thought I'll share that aspect.
Yeah. We know that. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Thanks.
Shanti
And
Bhushan will take it
tenancy
in your heart.
tenancy rights, if you see section 55
Correct.
says
55.
it is in relation to a capital asset. Section 55
Correct.
2A classifies it as a capital asset. So up to cattle weaving, I think it was treated
Yes,
as capital receipt. Subsequently, it was taxed as it is taxable as a capital gain,
Capital gain.
and your cost will be taken as nil for the
Nil.
person who is receiving.
For the
it,
purpose of
cost will be
the
taken as nil, zero.
That's what the tenancy rate is only on that aspect to not on 55. Yeah.
Yes, it is 55.
55. Thank you.
Yeah.
55 2A, correct. Correct.
55.
Yes.
So thank you very much once again, sir, for this session. And I thank all the others who have supplemented also at the end. Your inputs are very valuable. So tomorrow's session, the details will be shared once the flyer and everything else is ready. It will be shared in the group as early as possible. And this session will be also uploaded in our YouTube channel very soon. So I thank once again all of the participants for joining us today. And I thank once again Swaminathan sir for this wonderful session. Thank you, and stay safe and have a great day. I'm
Thank
ending
you.
the
All the
session.
best. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Tomorrow we have an interesting session on equalization levy. APS sir has just
Equal session, that's important. You will know the
Equal
answer
session.
after seeing the flyer. Yes. Equal session on equalization.
Equalization. Super.
Yes. Who's the speaker?
MTB rocks. MTB rocks. That is what I want to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.